Now today let us see how we can set up the preferences not by taking values through a preference screen, but rather through a simple form that we can create. Suppose I create a simple form. Let's say pref form, and say I take up two preference values from the user in two text fields, and in another text field I'll show up the values that have been set up by the user, and we'll have two buttons for these, to save and then to show up. So I'll say save values, and then I can have another one to show values, and I can have methods set up for them. Android on click, I'll say save val, and then I can have Android on click show val. So I've set up two buttons, and I'll just have set up the hint, enter, so say technology, say Java or PHP, what he wants the news for, and then I can say enter number of news, and then here this is the text field where I can show what values shown here. So this is what sets up the screen. We've got two text fields through which we can get the values from the user, and then we can set up those values in the preference file, and accordingly we'll show up those values to this text field. So I'll set up my activity. I'll name this as a direct pref, where we'll directly get the values and set to our preference file. So I'll extend this to activity, import it, start with my on create, set up the content view, r dot layout dot pref form, and now let me get all the edit text into picture. 80, 81, 82, edit text 1, and then I have 2 and 3. So this 2 is where I show my saved values, and 1 and 80 are the text fields which I'll get the values from. So then now I need to set up my methods. Save values, a view, and I need another public void show val with a view object. So this is all set up. So now to save the values, I'll obtain a shared preference object, sp, and I'll say get shared preferences. I'll name any file, I'll say my direct prefs, and I can set up my mode as mode underscore private. So I got a shared preference file corresponding to a file which is named my direct prefs, and I'll obtain an editor for this dot editor, and I'll say spd is equal to sp dot edit. And now I'll set up the values in the file. I'll say spd dot put, I'll say string, then I can put string, I'll say technology tech, and I can put down value as et dot get text and got toString. So this sets up my first value, and then I'll put string, I'll say days, and you can even use the int value, or I can directly take up my value from the text field, get text dot toString. So I set up both the values to my shared preference file through the editor. And now whenever I use the editor to set up any values, we need to commit to save those values to the preference file. So we can name my preference file, any name we can give to the preference file, and as soon as we open up the editor and save values to this file gets created in the shared preference folder, and we have committed all the values. So just see if we have named the method correctly. Save val and show val, yeah. So within the show values method, I'll again obtain the shared preference object, and I'll obtain the technology. I'll say sp dot get string. So this is tech, and default value I'll say no technology, and then I'll have the days. I'll again get this value from the shared preference object. I'll say no days entered. So we set up this also, and we'll say et2 dot set text technology is plus t, and number of days are say d. So we have set up our simple form for entering the values, and then we have saved the values and obtained the values to show it to the user. So I'll just change my manifest file to set up this as my main launcher direct ref. So I'll say direct ref, and this finishes up. So I'll run my application. Yeah. So I can enter say Java, and I can say give me 10 news per page, and I can save the values, and then I can get the values. Oh, et2 is there. So it has shown the values properly, but what has happened here is what has happened is I needed to show here as 3. I made a small mistake in this. Anyhow, the result has come out to be what we were expecting. Technology is Java and number of days are 10. Now we needed this to be shown here. However, as we made a mistake in assigning the right ID to the reference, so this is how we can show up a single form, and we can take values from the user and accordingly set up our shared preference object corresponding to any file name, and through the editor we can save the values to the file and obtain the same values through the shared preference object. So this is the simple way to get preferences without using any preference screen